picture this. A quiet studio filled with the echoes of memories long buried, and John Wilson, the once dynamic drummer of Taste, sits with a mix of frustration and reflection. Today, he's decided to break his silence on his time with the legendary guitarist Rory Gallagher. While the world remembers Gallagher as a musical genius and a humble hero, Wilson paints a more complex picture, one of a man whose brilliance was often shadowed by his difficult personality and the conflicts he couldn't escape, both within and outside himself. Think back to the late 1960s when Taste was on the brink of greatness. Rory Gallagher, John Wilson, and Richard McCracken had forged a sound that combined raw blues with explosive rock energy. Their chemistry on stage was undeniable, but behind the scenes, cracks in their unity were beginning to show. Gallagher, while immensely talented, had a perfectionist streak that often alienated his bandmates. Wilson recalls how Gallagher's obsession with control created tension within the group. Gallagher was not just the band's lead guitarist and vocalist, he was its unspoken leader. Decisions were rarely discussed. Set lists, song arrangements, even the future direction of the band, all of it rested on Rory's shoulders, often leaving Wilson and McCracken feeling sidelined. The tension came to a head during their Isle of Wight festival performance in 1970. For the audience, it was a mesmerizing showcase of blues mastery. For the band, it was the beginning of the end. Wilson remembers the post-show conversations vividly. Rory had already decided to disband Taste without consulting his bandmates. The betrayal stung. For Wilson, it wasn't just about losing the band, it was about being dismissed by someone he considered a friend. After Taste dissolved, Rory Gallagher embarked on a solo career that would cement his legacy as one of the greatest guitarists of all time. But success didn't come without its sacrifices. Gallagher's relentless drive for perfection followed him into his solo work, making him both a revered artist and a challenging collaborator. Gallagher's bandmates in his solo career would later describe him as demanding and unyielding. He expected nothing short of excellence, not just from himself but from everyone around him. Rehearsals were grueling, often lasting for hours as Rory sought the perfect tone or phrasing. For many, the pressure was too much. Musicians came and went, unable to keep up with Gallagher's intense work ethic. Even Rory's humility, a trait often lauded by fans, had its limits. While he shunned the glamorous lifestyle embraced by many rock stars of his era, his need for control often veered into stubbornness. He refused to compromise, whether it was in dealing with bandmates, producers, or even record labels. This unyielding nature earned him respect but also left him isolated, a lone figure in the world of rock. Gallagher's battles weren't confined to his bandmates. He was infamous for his clashes with the music industry, which he viewed as overly commercial and artistically stifling. Rory refused to conform to the trends of the time, rejecting the glitz and gimmicks that dominated the 1970s rock scene. One of his most dramatic standoffs came in 1974, when he was approached to replace Mick Taylor in the Rolling Stones. For most musicians, it would have been the opportunity of a lifetime. For Rory, it was a nightmare. He walked away from the offer, citing creative differences and his discomfort with the band's larger-than-life image. The decision baffled many and solidified his reputation as a fiercely independent artist. But Gallagher's defiance had its costs. His refusal to play the game of commercial success limited his reach, leaving him to perform in smaller venues while other rock stars of his caliber played arenas. Behind the scenes, he wrestled with frustration, knowing his artistry was being overlooked by a system that prioritized image over substance. Offstage, Rory Gallagher was a paradox. His life, like his music, was full of contrasts that only deepened the enigma surrounding him. To his fans, he was a humble genius, a quiet soul who let his guitar do the talking. But to those who truly knew him, he was a man waging an unrelenting battle against inner demons. Fame had given him a platform, but it had also demanded a price, and Rory, ever the perfectionist, bore the weight of that price in silence. Rory's relentless touring schedule became both his lifeblood and his cage. Night after night, he poured every ounce of himself into performances that left audiences in awe, but the cost was steep. There was no time for permanence, no roots, no steady relationships, no home. While other rock stars indulged in glamorous lifestyles, Rory sought refuge in his music, his guitar a constant companion in an otherwise transient life. He never married, often retreating from social gatherings, his unease palpable to those around him. To many, it seemed as though the man who could command a crowd of thousands couldn't quite find his place in a room of a few. but solitude has its shadows, and for Rory, those shadows grew darker with time. Alcohol became a coping mechanism, a way to quiet the constant noise of expectation and exhaustion. At first, it was a companion during long nights on the road, a way to bond with fellow musicians or unwind after grueling performances. Yet, as the years went on, it morphed into something more insidious. By the 1980s, the effects of heavy drinking began to manifest not just in Rory's health but in his spirit. Friends and family noticed the change. His once limitless energy gave way to a heavy, lingering melancholy. The man who had once electrified stages now seemed burdened by the very life he had chosen. Rory's relationship with his brother and manager, Rory Gallagher, became both a sanctuary and a battlefield. Donald, ever loyal, worked tirelessly to shield Rory from the harsher realities of the music industry, fighting for his brother's independence and integrity. Yet their bond, as unbreakable as it seemed, was not without its strain. The blurred lines between family and business created moments of tension, as Donald struggled to balance Rory's relentless drive with the toll it was taking on his health. The growing health concerns only deepened the rift. Rory's reluctance to slow down clashed with Donald's increasing fears for his brother's well-being. Their conversations, once filled with laughter and shared dreams, became heavier, weighed down by the realities of a life lived at full throttle. For Donald, it was a painful balancing act trying to honor Rory's wishes while watching him drift further into the struggles that would come to define his later years. For Rory Gallagher, the stage was a sanctuary, a place where he could channel his pain into something transcendent. But offstage, the man behind the guitar was locked in a battle that no melody could resolve. His life was a poignant reminder that even the brightest stars carry shadows, and that the cost of brilliance is often borne in solitude. Rory Gallagher's impact on the world of music is undeniable, his name forever etched among the greats who redefined blues rock. His mastery of the guitar wasn't just a skill, it was an expression of raw emotion, a voice that transcended words. But from the blistering solos that left audiences breathless to the quieter, hauntingly introspective melodies, Gallagher's music was a reflection of his soul, complex, relentless, and deeply human. Yet, beneath the brilliance lay a story steeped in conflict, both with the world around him and the world within. For generations of musicians, Gallagher was not just an influence but a beacon of authenticity. Eric Clapton once marveled at his raw power, while Slash from Guns N' Roses credited Gallagher for inspiring his own approach to the guitar. To Rory, this adulation was secondary. His focus was never on fame or accolades, but on the music itself. That unwavering dedication became both his greatest strength and his heaviest burden, driving him to relentless heights of creativity while exacting an unrelenting toll on his personal life. Gallagher's story is as much about what he gave the world as it is about what he lost in the process. His albums, from Tattoo to Irish Tour 74, remain masterpieces, celebrated not just for their technical prowess, but for the passion that seemed to bleed through every note. Each recording, each performance, was a testament to his uncompromising vision. But this same vision often placed him at odds with the structures and systems that sought to mold him into a commercial product. His refusal to conform, while heroic to fans, isolated him within an industry that demanded compromise at every turn. John Wilson's reflections offer a window into this duality, a man who could mesmerize a crowd with his guitar, but often struggled to connect with those closest to him. Gallagher's genius was undeniable, but it cast a long shadow, both on himself and on those who shared his journey. To his bandmates, he was a perfectionist whose drive for excellence often left little room for collaboration. To his fans, he was a hero, a symbol of artistic integrity. To himself, he was perhaps simply a man trying to balance the weight of his own expectations with the demands of the world around him. Rory Gallagher's legacy is a tapestry woven with triumph and tragedy, a story that speaks to the paradox of greatness. For every moment of brilliance on stage, there was a moment of solitude off it. For every groundbreaking achievement, a sacrifice that went unseen. His music remains timeless, a beacon for those who seek honesty and passion in art. Yet his life is a reminder of the fragility behind the legend, the human cost of relentless ambition, and the conflicts that even the most celebrated figures cannot escape. Rory Gallagher's name shines as brightly as the music he left behind, but it carries with it the weight of a story that is as haunting as it is inspiring. His legacy, like his music, is a reflection of a man who gave everything for his art, a legacy of brilliance, struggle, and a determination that resonates far beyond his final note.